Welcome back into the Cowboys Report. Tom Downey here. The NFL trade deadline is less than 1 week away, so let's check in on the latest that has been said by the Cowboys and what they could potentially look to do at this year's deadline. Now, historically speaking, they normally make moves. This is not a team that sits on their feet very often. 2023 and 2020 are the exceptions to that. They traded for Jonathan Hankins back in 2022. 2021, they bought and sold, which was kind of funny. They flipped Everson Griffin, got Elianaku, which he contributed next to nothing. It was a weird trade. Michael Bennett was the Patriots acquisition from the Patriots back in 2019. And, of course, the big splashy one, Amari Cooper, in 2018. Most of their trade deadline action is small. It's minor. It's much like their free agency buzz. They're going after the we won the deal type of options, which I think they've implied again they are open to doing. Now, we will be live for the NFL trade deadline. We'll be simulcasting the main coverage and the Cowboys coverage. It'll all be the same here with me in charge. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/CowboysTV. Now, Cowboys legend Michael Irvin had this to say about the Cowboys and making a trade. The only hope the Cowboys really have right now is if some kind of move is made at the trade deadline. They have to do something. It's bad right now. In terms of analyzing this Cowboys team, of analyzing this roster, I don't think he's wrong. Doesn't this feel pretty similar to 2018 when you were also 3-4 at this point in the season and they made the aggressive Amari Cooper trade, which helped them in 18, helped them in 19 as they move forward? Doesn't it kind of feel that they're in a similar boat, that they're kind of hovering in that same, is this going to work out type of spot? That doesn't mean one will happen, though. In fact, I have questions as to if it will actually happen. I think Stephen Jones, who I don't like, once again kind of gave us the answer. Asked about it recently, or this week I should say, said, we'll do business as usual. We've got a lot of good players that are going to be coming back over the next 3 or 4 weeks. We know that's an important part of this. I know no one likes to hear about the business side of it, but the salary cap is what it is. Shut up, Steven. Obviously, we made some tough decisions in the offseason, so we're looking for younger guys who can help. But if the right deal pops itself up, then we'll certainly look at that. I'm fluent in Jones boy lies and deception and I don't know, idioms and phrases, whatever you want to say their language is. What Stephen Jones has told you is this. If someone calls us and makes a cheap offer, maybe we'll make a deal. But we aren't actively trying to make a deal. They already did we're going to get these guys back. That's better than a trade deadline deal. They don't want to spend money. They don't want to spend assets because they're not all in on this season. They're barely committed to this season. So will the Cowboys make a trade? Buying or selling? Because selling could be a little bit more up their alley right now. Get your answer in at the pinned comment of today's show. 1 for yes, 0 for no. Now, when you look at all the other outlets and media and blogs and everything out there, the most common trade you see, to the surprise of nobody really, is a running back trade for the Cowboys. So 5 names we'll look at here, and I'll break down the feasibility, Cowboys' interest, and if I have any interest from a personal standpoint, on Nick Chubb, mentioned by The Athletic, James Conner, and Kyren Williams, mentioned by USA Today, Travis Etienne by Pro Football Network, and Miles Sanders by ESPN. All 5 on notable outlets linked to the Cowboys. You get why the Cowboys are always linked to backs, right? Rico Dowdle's been your best back, has made barely any impact the last 2 weeks due to injury and lack of playing time. Ezekiel Elliott's, you guys know how I feel about him. It is what it is. Deuce Vaughn is not playing. Dalvin Cook got the call up and had 6 carries for 12 yards because, you were supposed to get him on the outside and you kind of didn't do that at all. It's how it goes sometimes. The running back room is not good, but I don't know if the Cowboys would ever admit that it's not good because that would admit that they made some mistakes in the offseason and your front office, your ownership, has a really tough time admitting that. So do the Cowboys need another running back? I think the answer is obviously yes, but that doesn't mean it has to come via trade. Why for yes and for no in the comments section of today's show. Let's go to Nick Chubb to begin things here. This was the trade idea from The Athletic. The Cowboys get Nick Chubb. The Browns get a 3rd and a 6th round pick. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I still really like Nick Chubb, the player. The fact he's been able to come back at all from his injury is really impressive, and I give him a lot of credit and praise for doing that. I do think his numbers this year can be a bit deceptive. I think it's about to break through for Nick Chubb. That's an awful deal for the Dallas Cowboys. Like, that is just stupid. That is a half-season rental of a guy that is averaging fewer yards per carry right now than Ezekiel Elliott. Like, come on. Like, what are we really doing here? I thought he was better against the Ravens, even more than I think the numbers suggest. But come on here. Like, he's coming off a brutal knee injury. You're not getting the 2021-2023 version. That's an unrealistic ask. I'm not trading a 3rd round pick for a half season. Come on. Now, I think the Browns' offensive line is pretty putrid, and that's a factor in this whole conversation. But come on. He has not been the same after-contact machine he's been in years past. He's not been the tackle-breaking machine he's been in years past. That's just, frankly, it's just the name brand getting super expensive when, unfortunately, the quality has declined for what he is right this second. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. It is the place for last-minute tickets to your next big event. That might not be a Cowboys game, but got Mavs games, got Stars games, it's got everything else in between: concerts, comedy, theater, and more. If you're going to a game, make sure you use the Game Time Picks feature. It makes game tickets to favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats. So don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets. It is curation designed to make it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and everything else in between. The Game Time guarantee is this: if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. It is the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry as well. So download the Game Time app today over at gametime.co. Create your account and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create that account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today, because time is it? It's game time. Next up, these next two are from USA Today, if you forgot from what I said earlier. James Conner, who I have long liked as a football player. He is a versatile, can do run game, can do pass catching game. I think he's benefited from really good Cardinals ground game design. I think unquestionably, even though he is older now, James Conner would be an upgrade over what you have. Or I think at RB1, let alone RB2. Now, there was no trade idea here from USA Today, which makes me sad because I like it when they do that. He's also a half-season rental. And I know it's not fun to say this. I don't know if you should be a half-season rental team. You're not that close. Like, you're not in position to make the push to be better right now. So I don't know if like off-season free agency, I've got interest in James Conner because then I can sign him and maybe even draft a back or still draft 2 backs, whatever. Like, that interests me. But half-season rental, I don't know if that fits the actual Cowboys plans. I don't know if that fits what they should be doing, which is why the season is so damn disappointing so far. Next up is Kyren Williams, who I was very surprised to see on this list. Now, his average numbers have not been great. The Rams' line has been banged up. He's got 2 super cheap years left, or year and a half cheap year left. So that I am, if I'm making a trade for a player, I would have far more interest in doing somebody or in adding somebody. That sounded really weird. Of doing a trade for somebody that would allow me to have him for 2025. That does interest me. I also know Sean McVay loves Kyren Williams. Like, they drafted Blake Corum, so they would never have to be without a Kyren Williams type ever again. His efficiency has not been that great this season. Again, context always matters. I think the overall lack of playmakers is probably a factor. And if you honestly just ignore the first 2 games of the season from an efficiency standpoint, it's actually been super good. For whatever reason was behind the slow early season start. Also, all he does is get touchdowns. That fixes your red zone. I think it helps you in the red zone a lot. He's really got a nose for the end zone there. But why would the Rams trade him right now? I don't think they want to sell. Next up is Travis Etienne. Oh, surprise, he's on this list, right? No one saw that one coming. Hasn't played the past 2 weeks, has been banged up. We've spent time on this one. This is, to me, a more feasible version of the Kyren Williams conversation. He's got a year and a half left on his contract. He is a very explosive playmaker. He's an explosive runner. I am interested. The injuries do worry me. He's a little bit expensive next year, but not a lot expensive, especially for a team that has plenty of salary cap space available. The Jags are clearly selling, by the way. They moved on from Cam Robinson. I haven't seen the details on how much contract they ate for that, if any. But they're selling because they know they're not good enough right now. If they want to ride with Tank Bigsby, Etienne would make sense as a trade option. So name a player, if there is one out there, that you want to trade for. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Next up is a Miles Sanders, who has looked better so far this year. I do want to give him some credit on that front. He has been a better player than what we saw in 2023. He's still not as good as Chuba Hubbard's been. It's kind of funny to see similar growth in their average per carry. Both guys. Oh, the O-line's better. You're getting more of what you paid for there. My concern becomes that Miles Sanders is just he's the guy that's going to get what's blocked for you in the end. And that's not great for what your personnel has up front and the way you run your ground game. The contract's also an issue, too. He's not a vet minimum player. The cash left you would owe him is around $2 million. Drop if you wait until after this week, by the way. But it's around half of it. So $2 million isn't a lot. The Jones boys, it kind of is. It's got $6.75 million next year. None of it's guaranteed right now. There's a $1 million roster bonus due on the 3rd day of the league year. You'd probably cut him, which, again, now it's back in the rental conversation. And a more expensive rental than some of the other guys on that list. Now, before we go, I'm not even going to do the stupid Myles Garrett trade. You might have saw it. It was like, Cowboys going to make a blockbuster for Myles Garrett. No, they're not. Come on. We know better than that, media. I'll say this is my final thought, too. Week 9 matters for what the Cowboys' plans, I think, will be and should be. I think you can beat the Falcons. I think you kind of need to beat the Falcons because then you're back at 500. You're right back in the mix, as unconfident as I am, and I think many of you are. But if you lose that game, with your schedule coming up, it's not good. And at that point, you should have a more forward-thinking approach. And guys that are on one-year deals that aren't part of your 2025 plans, you should sell them. Will they? I have my doubts.